and welcome to the Scary Goals Club. I am your host, Hazel Robertson, and I believe that to make the impact that you know you are called to make in the world, it requires setting bigger, scarier goals and then becoming the person who creates them. That is what I am here to show you how to do. That's what we're diving into with mindset, tools, tricks, really simple, practical, actionable steps you can take and start applying straight away. Because whatever you believe, we have this one life that we definitely know about. Start making the impact you know you want to make in the world. Fear is not a reason to stop. We keep going. We work through the fear. That is what we do in the Scary Goals Club. So come on in, come join, hit subscribe, and let's get started. Hi, and welcome to oh my goodness. Hi, and welcome to episode 28 of the Scary Goals Club podcast. I've just had a drink with some caffeine in it, so I think it might be a bit giggly. Oh my goodness, Luke and I, we had a call on Tuesday that we were both on, and I had like a cup of tea or something with caffeine in it just before, and I was a bit warm. And do you ever get that where you know that like it's not appropriate to laugh? And I tried to make a joke and tried to say something I thought was funny that came out completely wrong. The other person on the call was just like silent. And then I like started laughing and then I snorted. And it was that whole piece where I was like, oh my goodness, I need to stop laughing. And I can't stop laughing. And I couldn't like find the mute on the phone to like stop it. And I had to be like, I'm so sorry. Just a bit excitable. I remember getting that so many times, like at uni or at school, when it was basically like, do not laugh. It was like, this is a very inappropriate time to laugh. And I would just like be overcome with this urge to laugh. I don't know if that's like something that you resonate with at all. But anyway, here we go. And now I'm a bit excitable and I seem to have been messing up my words. Anyway, okay. Deep breath and grounding. Calm and grounding. Okay. So what I want to talk to you about today is how to know if you're going after the right goal. How to know if it's the right goal for you. And this episode is off the back of a specific question that someone reached out and asked me by email. So if you're listening, this one's for you. I won't say your name because I didn't ask if I could share your name, but I just want to give some of my thoughts and some things that you can think about, some questions that you can ask yourself, and just ways of thinking about it if you are also asking yourself the question, like, how do I know if this is the right goal for me? So, first of all, and again, this is what I would do like whenever I'm coaching my clients, is just checking in. Like, if you are telling yourself, okay, I'll rewind back. If you're asking the question, like, how do I know it's the right goal for me? There's probably an underlying belief or thought of, I don't know if this is the right goal for me, or this is maybe not the right goal for me. Because otherwise you probably wouldn't ask the question. So it's almost like taking a step back and thinking, okay, where is that question coming from? And what is the unconscious like belief or the thought that's maybe there sitting underneath it that's driving asking that question? And maybe you're asking that question to yourself. Maybe it's going around in thought loops like, I don't know if this is the right goal. I don't know if this is the right goal. And even just noticing that, checking in then, what is that feeling? Because if you remember how we are thinking, like the thoughts that we are thinking, if we're believing them, they're creating in us a feeling. So that is a pattern of energy that we're feeling in our body. So if you are thinking, I don't know if this is the right goal for me, or this isn't the right goal for me, how is that making you feel? Probably like uncertain or unsure. Because if you're working towards a goal, like if you decided this is your goal and then you're going, oh, I don't know if it's the right one for me, you're probably feeling a bit uncertain, a bit unsure. And then you're maybe getting into questioning, such as like, how do I know it's the right goal for me? Okay, maybe I'll ask someone how they know it's the right goal for me. Maybe you're flipping back and forth and going, maybe I should change the goal. Maybe I should do something else. All of this is driven by like the core belief is, I don't know if this is the right goal for me. So even just checking in, is that something that maybe resonates, that is maybe going on for you? And maybe you're not aware of it. Maybe it's just you feel a bit of uncertainty, and maybe you can notice there's like, what is that uncertainty making you do? And really understanding like, what is your behavior? Because how we are feeling, that drives our actions, that drives our behavior. So if we're going back and forth, if we're questioning, if we're overthinking, if we're changing the goal, if we're thinking about other goals, if we're wanting to do stop and start, like that's all driven from uncertainty, which makes sense if we're telling ourselves, like, I don't know if this is the right goal. So the first thing is just checking in with any of that. Because, like, the way that I like to think about it is what if there is no such thing as a right or a wrong goal? And really just letting that sink in. It's the same with decisions. Like the way I think about it is there's no such thing as a right or wrong decision. Okay, sure. In hindsight, you could look back and be like, maybe I would have decided something different based on like what I know now. That's really useful to know. But at the time, you're not going to make what you think is a wrong decision. So it's like even with your goal, you're not going to pick what you think is the wrong goal. You're going to always pick what you think is the right goal. So just knowing that what if there is no such thing as like a right or wrong goal? Because sometimes, again, when our brain, again, like let's say a goal is a goal, it's like this neutral thing. You could be really factual about it. Whether it's quote unquote right or quote unquote wrong, like that is a story that our brain is adding and attaching to the goal. And so, oftentimes, when we get into this like right or wrong and thinking there is a right way and a wrong way, it can create like that's often what drives like perfectionism, and we're thinking there's like a right way to do things, a best way to do things, that there's like only one way to do things. Like there is a right goal and it's like, it's this goal. And what it can often get into is almost like searching, thinking somewhere out there in the world, in the ether, is this right goal. And if we find it, then everything's going to be magically okay. And it just doesn't work that way because, again, if you're believing and questioning a goal, any other goal that you choose, you're probably going to question that goal as well. So if you're wondering, like, how do I know if it's the right goal for one specific goal? You could switch out the goal and you would still have that underlying thought pattern. So the thought pattern of, I don't know if this is the right goal, is independent of the goal itself, of the questioning. And just knowing that can be so helpful because, like, you don't need to change the goal. And I'll get onto this of how there's like why you might want to change the goal and how that's actually just a decision and it doesn't mean the goal was right or wrong. But thinking like, okay, what if you just decided that every single goal that you choose is the right goal? Until there's a point where you maybe just change your mind because you want to. There's no like right or wrong goal. There's no like best goal, worst goal. You just decide like I always choose the right goal. And then maybe there gets a point in time where you're like, okay, I want to change my mind, and that's okay too. Because like a few episodes ago, I talked about when I didn't want to do my scary goal anymore. And this is a program that I created last year. And at the time, like when I made the decision to do it, I thought that this was the goal I wanted to do. Like it was, I just decided, I was like, this is the right goal. Like I'm going for this one. Like this is my goal. And I was very focused on that. And then life moved on. I learned some things. My personal situation changed. There were so many things that changed that maybe I could have predicted, but also maybe I couldn't have. And just sometimes you learn things by actually doing it and going after goals. And you're like, do you know what? This isn't what I thought. This isn't panned out in the way I had wanted it to or I'd intended. I'm going to make a decision to no longer do it. I didn't think it was the wrong goal. I just was like, okay, this is the right goal until, okay, now the goal feels complete for me and I'm going to let it go. So even just thinking about that, what if there's no right or wrong goal? You just decide like every goal that you decide you're going to work on is the right goal. Sure, you might learn some things and you might get to a point where you're like, do you know what? I want to change my mind. And that's okay. Like you get to change your mind at any point, and you can still believe that it was the right decision, it was the right goal. And now you know some new things. You've got like, you're never going to learn anything without actually making a decision and doing something. And so to do that means committing to a goal. And so you may as well tell yourself it is the right goal. So you're not searching and spending all this time flip flopping back and forth and being like, is it this? Is it this? It's just like, okay, yeah, this is the right goal. I'm going all in on it until it gets to a point that maybe you're like, okay, I'm done. And then you want to change your mind. Or you're like, actually, no, this is it. And I want to keep on this path. So just knowing that the story that we tell about our goals is so important. And you get to change that. And you just get to decide that every goal that you work on like is the right goal. Because when we're telling ourselves there is a right goal and a wrong goal, and we're getting into searching for it, it's almost like there's this magical scale in the world somewhere that will be like, you can, measure your goal and it'll be like, bing, this is a right goal, or bing, this is the wrong goal. As if it's like somewhere out there that there's some measurement of it. But it's like, what even is right? What does right even mean? You could even ask yourself that, or like, what does wrong even mean? And really getting curious about that. And just knowing like there's not a magical scale out in the world, like you just get to decide. So deciding that you always pick the right goal for you, or that there's no such thing as a right or wrong goal, but you just decide you're going to make it right. And then you can always change your mind at any point. And so if it gets to a point, so if you're deciding, okay, you always choose the right goal, you're working towards your goal, and maybe part of you is like, I don't know if I actually want to be doing this anymore. So it's not that the goal is right or wrong. Like you thought it was the right goal, and now you have experience. You have been experimenting with things, you've been trying things out. And now you're like, okay, like I'm not sure if this is what I want to do anymore. Like, is this actually what I want to do? There's a few things that you can check in with. So the first is imagining like the best case of the goal. So really like pausing, imagining the goal being completed, imagine it being really successful, imagine it all working out, like going to that best case and really sitting with that, like, and really feeling into that and imagining it. And then checking in, is that exciting you? Is that lighting you up? Are you like, yes? Do you feel suddenly this rush of energy to be like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is the best thing? Because sometimes when we are having like bumps along the road because we have setbacks, things don't go to plan as we're working towards our goals, things can feel heavy and hard. And there's like failure, a rejection that we have to move through these like bigger, heavier emotions. As we are doing that, sometimes it can be easy to be like, oh, I'm just going to quit. And it's almost we're reacting from our more like short-term survival brain that's like, don't do this. Don't put yourself out there anymore. Just stop. Don't do it anymore. But if you can check in with, okay, what is that bigger vision? What is it like imagining the best case? If you're like, yes, okay, no, this is worth it. Like, this is why I want to go after that. Like, if you can check in with your bigger vision and your why, that's going to help you with all of the setbacks along the way. So when things feel really heavy, when things feel hard and you want to quit, that's going to help you actually want to keep moving forward. So for example, when I, again, didn't want to do my scary goal anymore, I also at that point was just like, I'm just going to wrap up the business. Like I'm done. And actually, when I checked in with my bigger vision and my why, I was like, no, I want to do the business. Just this element of it, this particular program, that's not lighting me up anymore. I was like imagining that successful and imagining it in the future. I was like, this actually isn't what I'm wanting to do. So I was like, okay, that one can be let go, but the business, yes, this is where I want to be focusing. So when I imagined the best case and the why, I had very different reactions for both of them. And so I knew like, okay, this one I'm going to let go, like that's complete. And I'm still focusing on like the business. I just need a pivot. I just need to change things within that. And that's going to do that. And I find that as soon as I let the goal go that I didn't want to do anymore, I had so much more energy. I had this rush of energy and focus and like creativity and like everything that was wrapped up in me fighting against something I just didn't want to do anymore. Suddenly all of that energy could be focused on like, okay, what is it I want to do and where am I going? So also knowing like if you do decide like this isn't a goal that you want to do anymore, you will move some of that energy into where it is you do want to go. So just checking in with, again, what is that best case and really like sitting with that and checking with your why, and you will know, and just trusting yourself and trusting your body, like listening, you will know if you're like, no, actually, I really do want to do this. Or if you're like, actually, this is complete. I don't want to do it. Because when we have a goal, like something we're working towards, it's okay that it's going to feel a bit scary. It's okay that there's going to be setbacks. And it's okay that sometimes we're going to get bored. Like, not that I've been bored of this podcast, but it can be very exciting at first. It's like, ooh, I'm starting this. And like, I love new projects. Like, I get so excited. So like, I have so many ideas, so much energy for starting things off. I'm like, boom, 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 boom. And then when it gets into the regularity of recording, and actually the recording I love, but it's like the behind the scenes of the editing and the scheduling things and the getting the clips and the sending the email and that piece, like the back end stuff, like it's a bit boring. Like it's not that exciting on a day to day. And yes, at some point I might outsource that. For now, I'm okay doing it, but like it can feel a bit like, oh, okay. And it's easy for my brain to want to be like, oh, is there something like else? But then I come back to it. It's like, no, I love this goal. I'm so enjoying this whole process of it. And I think about the podcast and like where I'm taking it. And like I get such a rush of energy when I think about that. I'm like, I know that this is the goal I want to be focusing on right now. Even when it feels a bit boring, even when things are a bit last minute or I haven't scheduled something in enough in advance. Even with all of that, like I check in, I'm like, no, this is still what I want to do. So really check. We're taking a little pause in the proceedings because I am just in the middle of editing the podcast. I'm in my running stuff. I've been out for a run and come back and editing this podcast. And my battery powered mic, the battery's obviously cut like 10 minutes before the end of that. So I was just editing. I was like, oh, that's weird. Why is the transcript not up? I was like, that's so weird. And then it was like, oh my gosh, there's no sound. And actually, when I was recording another podcast, the batteries kept dropping out. So I think they just maybe weren't fully charged. They came up and looked like they were fully charged. I just obviously hadn't noticed I'm like so cautious. Literally, no, I obviously hadn't noticed the light on the mic. I've got these like transmitter and receivers. I obviously hadn't noticed the light go off. And yeah, so basically 10 minutes of the end of that podcast is gone. So I'm going to come in now and just fill in the last bit as I remember and from like what notes I kind of scribbled down. And thanks for bearing with me. My podcasting mistakes and mishaps along the way. So I think this is like my 28th or 29th podcast I've recorded. So yeah, here we go. Still making mistakes, but it's life. It's being a human. So where had I got to? Let me check the transcript. Okay, so I was talking about like really checking in with when you think about the best case, like, is this actually what I want to do? Are you imagining the best case of like creating your goal and going after your goal and it being a reality? Like, does that really light you up and excite you? Or are you a bit like meh or a bit like nah? Like, that is a sign because things that light us up, things that energize us and excite us, those are the things that naturally will feel easier. I'm going to put the light on, get some more light in here. Sun's just gone cloud. Those are the things that are going to feel easier. Those are the things that ultimately we know we want to do. So, like, that desire, that like I want to, it's like listening for that from your body, really tuning in and being like, no, I want to. It can still feel scary. That's the thing. It can still feel a bit like, but you know, deep down, there's almost this like, and this is something I'm learning a bit more recently, is really tuning into my body. So it's like, okay, there's the fear, and that's my brain being like, oh, you're gonna die, you're gonna be separated from the tribe, like all of that, you're gonna fail. And then there's like deep inside in my body, it's like, yes, like this is awesome, and this is what you want to do. And like listening for that. And it will be like almost this like deep knowing of like, yes, this is the right decision. And the key thing with all of this is creating calmness, creating stillness, going out for a walk, meditating, doing some breathing, like moving your body and not making any decisions when you're in this like fight or flight or like panicked place. Because when we're focusing on like when our brain's feeling anxious or we're overthinking or trying to like focus on the problem and like, oh, we're getting caught up in that, we're in our survival brain and we're just focused on survival. Our body, like our systems are just focusing on keeping us alive. We're not able to access like the problem solving, the creativity, the like, okay, what is it I actually want? We can be in survival mode. So if you are in this place, and you'll notice because things feel a bit panicked, things feel a bit rushed, things feel quite heavy, you want to give yourself time and space to like process through those feelings, meditate, bring in some stillness, bring in some calm, like shut down your computer, like get away, get outside, walk barefoot on the grass, like ground yourself with the earth and just bring in some stillness and really connect and be like, okay, what is the answer? Or wait until you're in that place. So again, when I made the decision, like initially I was thinking about making the decision, I was like quite upset and I was feeling really low. This was about potentially closing down the business and then actually closing down that program. And I knew that that was the right decision. And then actually when I gave myself some space then after it, I was like, okay, I'm just going to like see what comes up. What came up when I had given myself permission to close down the business was like, no, I actually want to do that. And so although I'd made the decision in the moment, just be like, no, it's all done. Like actually, when I gave myself space and stillness and calm, it was like, no, this is what I want. And this other one is complete. So with all of this, when we are making decisions, if you are in a like panic, urgent, rush, like that kind of place, that is not where you want to be making decisions, because your focus narrows, you're like short-term focus, you don't have access to your creativity and problem solving, and you're like very much in a fight or flight survival state, and you're just not going to make useful decisions that are actually what you want. You might react and like do something rash or change this and change that, and you want to really be calming, grounding your body down and more thinking about the longer term. So that is my piece of advice for that. And then the other piece is, again, when you're thinking about this, is imagining, again, when you're in this calm place, we can imagine to the future, like we can time travel in our mind. So not only imagining, okay, the best case of it and what's your why, and like, is it lighting you up and exciting you? And if not, then that's maybe a sign to let it go. But also thinking, okay, what if I do decide to let this go and not do it? And again, listening in for that and seeing what comes up from your body, and closing your eyes can be really, really helpful with this. And just like taking a few deep breaths and centering yourself and checking in with the answer. And if you feel like relief when you think about just not doing it anymore, that's also a sign that maybe it's not the goal that you want to be doing anymore. Like you decided it was the right goal when you decided it. And now maybe it's time to let it go and it feels complete. But you will know. And it's just listening to your body and trusting it with that. The other thing with the time travel is you can think ahead, like, okay, in a year, how will I, sorry, I'm so distracted. I just saw a cat climbing a fence, like across the street. Very amazing how it's just like, just got up. It's like, it's walking along the fence. Anyway, I'm back. I'm back in the room. And the other piece is like, okay, when you think like in a year, if you have made the decision not to do it anymore and to make the goal complete, how do you think you'll feel then? So it's like traveling to the future and getting that wisdom from your future self, which is also you. But sometimes like zooming out just gives us so much more perspective than we can have when we're like in it, when we're in survival mode, and our like brain and body are flooded with all these like cortisol and adrenaline and all these stress hormones that are just shutting down and almost like putting blinkers on. It's like, right, this thing in front of us. When we can get our body in this calm place, when we can rest and step away and then think about the future and imagine back and making those, like, we're just going to make so many better decisions than when we are in like a kind of fight or flight. Oh, I have to decide this right now. And so the other piece is knowing that when you get that calmness and that stillness and you listen to your body and you really check in with what the decision is for you, just like really checking in, you might not like the answer. And even if you know, and it's like trusting yourself that you know that, like, say it is the decision that the goal is complete, you might not like that answer because maybe there's like a fear. And certainly for me, like when I made the decision, okay, the business, I want to keep doing that. I'm just going to pivot. This particular program, I'm closing down. Like there was so much fear that came up for me. Like I didn't love that decision. I mean, it was the right decision and I like owned it. And I was like, I know this is the right decision because I had just been like, felt like my head was banging against a brick wall for like weeks and months. And I just knew that something had to shift, and it shifted and everything felt like, well, not better immediately. It was really hard, but I knew that that was the right decision deep down. I was like, I know that this is it, but it felt really hard because I felt I was letting people down, and people had like invested in it, invested their time in it. They'd put trust in like having this program ongoing and access to these tools. And I was basically saying, I'm no longer doing this. So for me, I knew that that was the right decision for me. And yet I almost didn't like it. It was again, these shoulds coming up of like, no, I should just keep going and I should just do this because I've said I was doing this. So I can't change my mind. And it's like, we can always change our minds just because we have done something in the past and made a decision based on how we were in the past and our situation in the past. Like at any point, we are allowed to change our minds just because we have said something is a certain way. So it's like with you, you can change your mind at any point just because you want to. It's when we don't and we're like, well, I should just keep going because I said I would. That's when it's just exhausting because we are fighting against ourselves. We're not listening to ourselves. We're not trusting ourselves and our own wisdom and our own decisions. And we're almost like imagining what other people might think of us and making decisions based on that. That is the stuff that is exhausting. That is the stuff that I was doing and had been doing for months. And when I finally was like, do you know what? I'm just going to own this. And other people might have thoughts about it and might be disappointed and might be upset. And I can hold space for that. And I can understand, like I would be too. And still, I know this is the right decision for me. And so it's thinking about that, like for you, you do know what the right decision is. Like you do know if you want to keep going or if it feels complete. Like deep down, you do know. It just sometimes can feel scary. And again, our brain loves to keep us in this like uncertainty of like, I don't know. I don't know if it's the right goal. I don't know this. How do I know if it's the right goal? And like searching outside of ourselves, thinking that like the answers are outside. The answers are always inside, like always. And the more that we can actually just trust that and trust ourselves, the better decisions we're going to make and the more energy we're just going to have because we're going to be doing things that we know we're like, oh, yes, this is what I want to be doing. And not listening to the like shoulds or what we think we should be doing or imagining what other people might think that we should be doing, all of that. So I just want to send so much love as well because I have been there. I've been in that place where it's like you're questioning things and uncertain, like uncertainty. It's just like the spin around and around and around, or like, I don't know if it's this, I don't know if it's this. And it's like it can feel useful that we're like questioning and figuring things out. Actually, we're just keeping ourselves in this like the washing machine round and round and round and round, and we're not actually going anywhere. And what's going to shift that is just trusting that like you do know and just giving your body and your mind that space of the stillness and the quiet to figure that out and to really listen to it and to really trust it. And then it might not be the decision that you like, and that's okay. And it's just being really kind to yourself through this whole process. No decision ever needs to be rushed. Everything, there's plenty of time, and just trusting that you always know. You always, always know. So I hope that was helpful. Again, sending so much love if you're going through this at the moment. Like, I get it. I have been there so many times. And these are some things that have helped me. These are things that help my clients. And just, again, as you go through this whole process, like being so kind to yourself, watching that brain of yours, and just trusting yourself that, like, you do have everything you need inside you. Like, you really, really do. Okay. Sending so much love. And also, have you signed up yet to the Scary Goals Club party? 5th of September. So, like, less than 2 weeks if you're listening to this in real time. So excited. We're coming on Zoom live. I'm going to answer like all of your questions, give you coaching there and then. If you're listening, you can take it out for a walk. You can interact in the chat. There'll be cameras off. I'll have my camera on. You'll see my face. So it's going to feel like, you know, come as you are, come where you are, come wearing whatever you need, get comfy, get cozy. It's going to be amazing. And if you sign up, the link's in the show notes, then you'll get a Zoom link just before. And it means if you come on live, then you'll be able to ask any question, pick my brains on anything. I'm going to be giving some super specific and helpful teachings as well that'll be, again, specific to your goal. And we can like literally coach, workshop, chat on anything. And the most amazing thing about these sessions where there's multiple people on one call, like these group sessions, is we learn so much from each other. You will understand, even just by like when someone else is asking questions, you'll be like, oh, wait, I was thinking that too. Or like, I didn't even realize I had that question, but the answer is really helpful. You will realize that you are not alone, that we are all human. We all are like doing the best we can in this world with this amazing brain and body that we don't get taught how to use. We all want to create magic and magnificent things in the world and beauty and show up as more of ourselves. And you will realize that. And just coming to these calls where you can connect with other people like that, it is so powerful. So 30 minutes, it's not like a big chunk of the week, but what if it is like the most magical and amazing 30 minutes of your entire week? What if it could be that? What if it could be like you come along and you leave just feeling energized and inspired? That is my aim for these calls. That is what I'm wanting to do, is to just give you more focused, targeted support on your scary goals. So I'd love to see you there. If you are hesitating or you're not sure, just sign up anyway. You'll get the Zoom link, put it in your calendar, 5th of September, 1 till half 1, and 1 till half 1, that's UK time, British summer. Yeah, we're still in British summer time. Although, to be fair, last night I was like, wait, how is it so dark already at like 9ish? I mean, it had been a bit wet, but it's like, I am not ready for the evenings for like, I know September's coming next week, and I'm just like, I'm not ready for these like summer evenings to go. But also when autumn always arrives, I do love that transition. I love the crisp and the cold, but I'm just loving the summer at the moment when we're getting the glimpses of it, of just being able to like go outside and not have to bring like layers of jackets and waterproofs and get really muddy coming in and like all of that. But anyway, it's transitions. Nothing is permanent. Everything is finite and everything ebbs and flows. So I'm just leaning into, even if I'm not quite ready for the evenings to get darker, I am leaning into it. I am embracing it, just like all things with life. We like the only thing that is, what is the phrase? I can't remember. The only thing that is certain is change, or something like that. The only thing that doesn't change is change, which you're all changing. It's a state of flow and change. And again, referencing back to this episode, if you do want to change your goal at any point, you can do that. So you get to do whatever you want. It is your life. Just listen to what is right for you and what is true for you. And I'm sending you so much love. I can't wait to see you on the 5th of September at the Scary Goals Club party. Sign up now in the show notes. There is the link. Go and do it now. And I'll see you on Zoom, and have an amazing rest of the week and an amazing rest of the day. I'll see you next. Bye. Hey, thanks so much for listening. If this was helpful, please hit subscribe and leave a review. This helps get this work in the hands of more purposeful people. That is, more people creating bigger, scarier goals, making an even bigger impact in the world. And if you want to take this work deeper and work with me directly, head to the show notes and I've put all of the information there. If you've got any questions, or if there's anything you're like, ooh, I'd love you to talk about that on the pod, please just get in touch. I love hearing from you guys. And I'll see you next time in the Scary Goals Club.